Well, as always, a shout out to our sponsor of the podcast, Home Street Bank. If you're looking for a bank that is going to give you everything you need, great people, tremendous service, really great rates, this is where you want to go. This is my lender. This is my lender of choice. I think it should be yours as well. Go to homestreetbank.com for everything you need, both business and personal. That's homestreetbank.com. Do you ever find yourself in that moment where your customer is clearly overwhelmed? We'll talk about what to do when you get to that moment on today's episode of The Buyer's Mind.
Welcome to The Buyer's Mind, where we take a closer look deep inside your customer's decision-making mechanism to reverse engineer the perfect sales presentation. Now, please welcome your host, Jeff Shore.
And welcome everyone once again to The Buyer's Mind. I'm your host, Jeff Shore. Our job here is to understand the way that our customer makes decisions and then to go back and reverse engineer our sales presentation to make it easy for them to do just that. And I'm joined as always by our show producer, Paul Murphy. Hey, Murph, we've talked about this in the past, but I want to reintroduce it now. An example of how we can bring cognitive ease to our customer, because to our customer, let's see, I'm going to start it. I'm going to see if you can finish the sentence here. In a customer's perspective, easy equals what?
Right.
Good. Nicely done, Murph. Easy equals right. The easier something seems to me, the righter it feels to me. That's something we've talked about before. What does that mean to you, Murph?
So in the past, we've talked about this before. Not only does easy equal right, but easy equals simple.
And simple equals right.
Right.
Yeah, sure. So that's there's that through line that when we make this easy, when we make this simple, it makes all the difference in the world, because from our customer's perspective, that stress that they tend to accumulate oftentimes in the sales process confuses the mind. And just like we say that easy equals right or simple equals right, we also know that a confused mind says no. When that mind gets confused, we tend to default to our the place we know best, which is our current situation. And I'm just going to say, no, I don't want to move forward because it's simply too confusing. And I'm going to suggest to you that sometimes your customers need a break. They need a mental break. They need that break from stress to ease. There are times when our customers get overwhelmed, they get stressed out, and we need to find a way to provide them with some cognitive ease. And one way that we do that is to get them to move from logic to emotion. Now, I'm not suggesting that we're going to take logic out of the conversation, but I am going to suggest that 85% of the purchase decision is made out of the emotion and supported by the logic. When your customer gets too analytical, too logical, then they're removing the emotion out of that. And as Daniel Kahneman says, when you remove the emotion from a decision, you tend to make a poor decision. So what do we want to do here? We want to get our customer out of their analytical brain and feeling what they want to feel about that product, about that service. You have to give people time to feel. Now, here's the problem. Over and over again, what we find here is that when our customer is totally stressed out by the data and the analytics and by the logic, oftentimes they get there because the salesperson took them there. That is, the salesperson is feature dumping. The salesperson is showing all of these different aspects of that product that the customer may not even care about. But all we know is over time, it starts to overweight my logical brain, and I just can't make a decision. You have to give people time to feel. Murph, is this making sense so far, at least?
It does, because otherwise I get to that dreaded place for a salesperson where I go, I need to think about it.
Yes, that's exactly right. And you're not lying there, are you? You really do need to think about it.
I do need to think about it.
You know, I remember years ago, I was shopping for a car, and I walked onto a car dealership, and that salesperson had apparently just gotten out of a training session that was centered all around understanding the limited slip differential. That was what the training session was about, the limited slip differential. And this salesperson now wanted to tell me all about the superior limited slip differential in this car. Now, I got to tell you something. To this day, I still don't know what a limited slip differential is. And you know why I don't know? Because I don't care. It doesn't matter to me. Now, if you wanted to look at it and say, hey, do you have kids? Are you concerned about their safety? Well, let me just briefly tell you something that makes this car safer. Now maybe I'm interested. But all he was doing was feeding my mind with facts and data about stuff that I didn't care about, and I walked away. So I want to, but if you're going to talk about the safety of my children, that's not logical. That's emotional, right? It's taking in place in the emotional part of my brain. And I want to just challenge you right now to ask yourself two questions. One is, what do you love to talk about that may not be of supreme interest to your customer? And two, what is your customer interested in on an emotional level? It's not what they want to think. It's how do they want to feel? So I'm going to challenge you to go back to your own sales presentation right now and dramatically thin out the feature dumping that you might be doing just because you think it's interesting. And then I'm going to ask you to figure out, how do I get my customer more emotionally involved? How do we get into the how does this feel rather than the what do you think? The decision is made emotionally. How do we make it easy for our customer to do just that? Because when you make it easy, when you make it simple, you make it right. That's when you have the opportunity to change their world. Thanks as always for listening to another episode of The Buyer's Mind. We appreciate the support, and you can find everything that you need at jeffshore.com, including signing up for our free Saturday morning video newsletter. Been doing it for years and years to help salespeople who are working the weekends get started with a boost. Just go to jeffshore.com. We'll see you next time.